What up, America? It's your boy, Chuck Johnson, a.k.a. Kid Thunder. So now I want to go on and talk about this douchebag of a candidate, Randy Bryce, here in Wisconsin. And he's a Democrat that is running for Congress to replace Paul Ryan. Now, I'm going to say it like this. I live in Madison. And to be frankly honest, I don't think Paul Ryan is part of my district. I mean, but still, talking about Mr. Bryce right here, Mr. Randy Bryce. He just came out with an attack ad where it included his brother James, whom, by the way, James happens to be a police officer. And now, Mr. James Bryce, he's obviously voting for the other guy, Brian Style, for Congress. Now, basically, he talks about an increase in attacks on law enforcement. As a recent history, because what do you know? The Democratic Party nowadays has totally gone extremely left, to the point where they have become literally nothing more than just total anarchists. They want an anti-cop society. Don't believe me? Read books like The Ferguson Effect. And it shows that the Ferguson effect happens to be real. It's nothing imaginary. Straight up. But anyway, Randy Bryce's political ad, basically describes as, I agree with with Officer James Bryce saying this. He says this, and I quote, "From this perspective, this has been motivated in part by cop-hating rhetoric. When people refer to police officers as terrorists, that hits a little close to home." Yeah, which, by the way, 2012, Randy Bryce made the statement on Twitter. When police become the terrorists, the two-pronged assault on dissent in Wisconsin's capital. Now, let me say this. First off, as a black person, when I was a kid growing up, I was a out-of-control dipshit. I was an out-of-control buffoon, and I was raised by a single mother on top of that. And when my behavior was so out of control at times, my mother would obviously call the cops on me as a last resort. And I'm going to tell you this, my mother had really tough love for me, straight up. But, the cops really didn't do nothing. They just advised me to do better, or I'll be dead or in the joint. And I'm also saying this. I've had numerous encounters with the police in my lifetime. Even when I was living in Chicago, on the far south side of Chicago, and during those particular encounters, neither one of them has gotten out of control. All right. So trying to force an anti-cop agenda is literally a bad thing. The way how I see it, And it's like this, okay? I've said this numerous times time and time again. Okay, yes, there are bad apples in the police force. Yes, I think everyone can agree that there are police officers who takes things too far and abuse their authority. But to label every single police officer like that is just downright absurd. All right? And that's literally what Randy Bryce, let alone the Democratic Party as a whole, has been doing. They don't support police officers. They don't, and for people who vote for them, they're pretty much adding fuel to the fire. I mean, isn't it enough that for the past 3.5 years, as a matter of fact, for the past 4 years, we've had hate groups like Black Lives Matter. Notice I said lies because the movement itself was built on a lie initially. You got groups like Black Lives Matter, basically fueling the flames of the American police officer, promoting nothing more than just an anti-cop agenda. I'm going to tell you this right here. To quote Judge Jeanine Pirro from Fox News, if you want a lawless society, if you want anarchy, hate all the cops. You're on your own. But anyway, back to the subject. Randy Bryce, this douchebag, this Sacagawean, basically just came out with an attack ad where he talks about putting police officers on blast, calling them terrorists. How are the police officers? My question is this: how are police officers considered terrorists when literally the main thing this is their main objective: serve and protect? And yeah, I know there's going to be some pro-black piece of garbage that's going to comment on this video, talking about you better watch out for, or I bet there's going to be some white snowflake douchebag that's going to comment on this video that's probably going to say, well, you better watch your back if there's a cop that's going to, come and bust a cap in your ass, nickel. They might say that in the comment section. Better believe it, because I'm putting them on blast too. Because in my personal experience, I felt that the cops in my personal experience with police officers, I felt that the cops were obviously friendly to me, as opposed to being assholes. I mean, I never seen cops as assholes. Now, yes, like I said a couple of minutes ago in this video, yes, there are cops out there who takes things too far and abuse their power. I give you that. And cops who do that, they're not obviously getting away with their actions. I mean, come on now. But anyway, Randy Bryce, for those of you who live in the southeast district in Wisconsin, I urge you guys, do not put this son of a gun, Randy Bryce, in office, because he will be bad for Wisconsin, and literally he's literally going to be bad for America. America, this is why I, being a black person, will never vote Democrat ever again. Because I'm going to say it like this. I've seen, coming from a person who lived on the far south side of Chicago, and every time when I visit Chicago to see family, I have seen the crime rate in Chicago go from bad to worse. If you want Wisconsin, if you want the southeastern part of Wisconsin, especially over in Milwaukee, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna say this: the north side of Milwaukee is a shithole. You want those kind of policies. I mean, do you really want those kind of policies for Wisconsin? Like, seriously? Do you want an America? Do you want an anti-cop agenda? I'm sick of it. It's people like him. It's people like Randy Bryce. And by the way, Randy Bryce has got a massive criminal record. He done had like 9 arrests in his lifetime. So why the hell would anybody wants to vote for, a person who's been arrested on multiple occasions, especially from now, if it was a Republican who had an arrest record and is running for office of any kind, they either would, number one, disqualify him, or two, not vote for him at all. But this is a Democrat. Usually Democrats, they get away with all kinds of stuff. America, this is why in 2016 we voted Donald Trump for president. And like what Trump stated a couple of weeks ago, if the left gains control of Congress, they will violently enact. We cannot have an anti-police society here in America. We cannot have, and definitely we cannot have an anti-police society here in Wisconsin. I mean, if you want liberal policies, fine by me. But America, we cannot afford liberal policies. And we cannot afford stupidity coming from a guy like Randy Bryce. If I was a Democrat, I'd be appalled. I'm Chuck Johnson, a.k.a. Kid Thunder. I'm signing off.